Hi and welcome to Stitched in Sweden. My name's Maria and today I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of projects that I've finished in the past couple of months over the little summer break that I took this year. At the end of this video, I'll also be sharing with you everything that I picked up while on our 6-week vacation in Colorado. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around and let's get started. What'd you find, Mira? Who are you giving them to? Oh, that's nice. Does she like them? Cool. This year has definitely been less of a knit heavy year for me in terms of finished objects. I knit a lot of sweaters for myself last year, and this year I've had fewer opportunities to sit down and knit for long stretches of time. Last year I was pregnant with my third daughter and I was struggling a lot with pelvic girdle pain, so I wasn't able to move around very much, and that meant that there was a lot of time that I was sitting on the couch, which gave me a lot of knitting time. Also, while having a newborn, she was a really good sleeper, and so I did spend my resting times knitting. This year is another story. She just turned 1 in June, and that means that she's into everything and I'm spending a lot of time chasing her around the house. Projects are taking a little longer, that's fine. That's the phase of life that I'm in at the moment. But I did finally finish my Cardi jumper from VertKnit. I feel like I've been knitting this forever. I knit this in Knitting for Olive merino in the color Cloud, held together with Isager silk mohair in the color E0. I haven't actually wet blocked this sweater yet, and I haven't worn it yet. I think that there are 2 things that I'm going to need to do to make this a wearable garment for me. It was so much knitting time, and unfortunately at the moment I am not like super excited to wear it, and I'll tell you why. I think that I used to wear v-necks a lot more, but lately, or for the past couple of years, I have definitely been reaching for more of a crew neck style. And so this particular v-neck feels very open to me and kind of exposed. So I think in order to make this a wearable garment for me, I am going to thread some elastic into the I-cord finish. This garment is intended to be worn either this way, so with kind of a boat neck finish, or so this could be in the front or the back, and this could also be in the front or the back. I'm guessing that I will mostly wear it with the v-neck in the front, but either way I feel like my I-cord pickup ratio could have been maybe a little bit smaller around the neck part. I don't know. So I'm going to just thread a bit of elastic in there just to cinch it in ever so slightly and see if that makes it feel a little bit more comfortable for me and less like it's gonna fall off my shoulders and expose my bra straps. The other thing for me that makes this not wearable at the moment is because I have been drawn to crew necks so much lately, I don't have a suitable shirt to wear under this sweater. I think a V-neck camisole could be an idea of something to wear underneath, and actually I have some fabric picked out that could work for this. If you've watched this podcast before, you know that I really enjoy sewing with the fabric store merino jersey. This comes from New Zealand and it's one of my all-time favorite fabrics to sew with. It's also quite expensive. I just made an order and I think it will be my last one for a while, just because with the import taxes here in Sweden and just like postage handling fees, as well as already being an expensive fabric, it becomes quite a pricey item. But I do have some leftover bits from other projects that I've made, including this, I think this one is called Biscotti, and this is called Lemongrass. I really like lemongrass as kind of a unexpected pop of color, and then this one is definitely a neutral color that I think would work well as a camisole underneath a garment if I didn't want it to show so obviously. So I'm planning on cutting out the Zoe tank. It's a pattern from True Bias, and I've made it one time in the past and I tried that one on and it fits well, but that is in a rib knit, so I think that it might be a little bit stretchier. I'm just not 100% sure that I want to make exactly the same size without modifications that I've made previously. So I'm going to make a cotton jersey version before I go ahead and cut into my merino scraps. I'm hoping with those two changes that I might be able to start reaching for this sweater a bit more. I think the last thing that's kind of just throwing me off a little bit is that it's a quite cropped fit that's rather wide, and it's just not a silhouette that I'm super used to wearing. So I think if I'm able to make the neckline a little more comfortable and have a garment that I'm happy with wearing underneath it, then hopefully it will be something that I reach for. I really do like the pearl buttons that I picked, and I think the I-cord finishing is a really delicate and just a nice finish for that garment, but as I said, it just hasn't been one that I've reached to too much yet. So since the last time we spoke, I have finished 2 sweaters for my daughters, and one of them is the Pop Rocks sweater that I made for Nora, my middle daughter. I knit this in Cosmic Strings in the, let's see, Cosmic Strings sock blend in the March 2021 colorway, and I held that together with Stress Knit's favorite in the Palm Lines color. I had 2 balls of that yarn, so I knew that it would be enough to hold it double throughout, as well as do all of the cuffs doubled in the Stress Knit's color, so that's what I did. Typically I like to knit this sweater with a commercial yarn for the solid contrast color, and then pick one skein of a fun sock yarn as the main star of the show. But because I already had this Palm Lines color in my stash and I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do with it otherwise, I just decided this would be a great opportunity to use it. This is the Pop Rock sweater, and it's a pattern that I've made myself, and it's available in my Ravelry shop or on lovecrafts.com. This is for my middle daughter, as I said. She is going to be 4, and it fits her really nicely right now. She's already worn it a bunch. I mean, you can see that the cuffs are a little bit dirty. It has held up very well, though it doesn't have much pilling. I haven't de-pilled it at all, and I know that she's going to get a ton of wear out of this in the months to come. She was really excited to have a sweater all her own, and so I was really happy to finish that up and yeah, make it for her. She often gets the hand-me-down sweaters, which she also likes, but every once in a while I think it's nice to make something just for her. While we were in Colorado, I picked up a couple of balls of Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the unicorn purple color. And I picked these up from a local yarn shop in Boulder, where I'm from and where my parents still live. And that is called Lula Fay Fibers, or Lula Fay Yarn, I can't remember exactly. So I picked up a couple of balls of the unicorn purple from Knitting for Olive, which they were discontinuing. And I purchased the matching merino from the Woolen Company, I think, online shop. And I knit this purple sweater for Eloise, my oldest daughter. This is the Monday sweater children's version by Petite Knit. It is a very simple top-down raglan with a folded collar and I think, let's see, 2 or 3 stitches at the raglan, so it's like a little bit more of a substantial raglan which I like. And she loves this sweater. She wears it almost every day and I couldn't be more pleased. She was really adamant about having a fuzzy sweater. I was worried that the soft silk mohair might be a little bit irritating for her because she does have a bit of sensitive skin, and just like any kid, I think sometimes she can be a little bit sensitive to wool or just, yeah, itchy things. Like, and if something's itchy, she's not gonna wear it, end of story. So I made her wear one of my mohair sweaters that doesn't really fit me very well anymore, which now I'm definitely just saving for her. So I made her wear that around for a couple of days, and to my surprise, she really didn't want to take it off at all. So it confirmed for me that she's not sensitive to mohair, and I went ahead with knitting this sweater just for her. I'm so happy I did. I won't hesitate in the future to make her another sweater, and I think this is just a really great yarn combination. I really like supporting Knitting for Olive yarns because their values really align with mine, and I think they make really great yarn that is tested thoroughly by themselves, but also all the many people who have knit with it, but it really holds up well to wear. I wouldn't hesitate again to use the Knitting for Olive merino in a garment for myself, in a garment for my girls. I think that their yarn holds up really well with limited pilling, and when I compare that to some things that I've made in Santa's Garn Sunday, that yarn has pilled significantly more. I think I would think twice before using the Sunday again on its own without a mohair held together with it, but I wouldn't hesitate with the Knitting for Olive merino. I know that I held this one with a mohair, and that kind of makes less pilling overall if there's going to be pilling, but I also have 2 hats that I made for each of my daughters last winter in the Knitting for Olive merino, and they have absolutely no pilling. They wear them every day during the winter, and I have not depilled them a single time. So I think that really just shows the high quality of that yarn, and so I'm definitely happy to buy that again in the future. Okay, I have 2 more finished projects that I'm going to share today, and then I'm going to shift over to my 2 current whips and then my Colorado acquisitions. So my other 2 finished projects are finished, but the ends are not chopped off. I think that they're woven in, but I'm gonna have to double check before I snip them. I made a pair of socks for my mom, and this is the lavender color from Vortex yarn, I think. I had the tag until, like, you know, I sat down to record and then it's gone. I made this in this yarn, which is a merino yak blend, merino yak and nylon blend, I think, actually, that I picked up at the Estes Park Sheep and Wool Festival. I'm not sure what the official name for that is, but it's a wool festival that happens in Colorado the first week of June. It's usually right around my birthday, and this year I was happy to be able to go. I went with one of my friends from college who was visiting, and we did a little loop around the marketplace. Enjoyed seeing a few sheep and some Angora rabbits, and just had an overall great time up there in Estes Park. We took the whole family, so my girls also went and really enjoyed seeing the animals as well. So my mom bought this yarn for me to knit her a pair of socks, and I didn't use a pattern, but I just started at the top, did a little knit for, I don't know, 10 rows or something, did a picot edge there where you knit 2 together, yarn over around, and then knit an additional 10 rows of stockinette. And then, you know, that stockinette edge is tied down on the inside, which I do by knitting those 2 stitches together all the way around. And then I did a 3x1 rib for the cuff, made it a good length. Sometimes I think I skimp out on the length of the cuff a little bit. Just did a slip stitch heel and then continued that 3x1 on the top of the foot and did a regular toe, I don't know, a toe like this, kind of rounded. So I'll give these to her the next time she's here for a visit, and those are finished. The last finished object that I'm going to share with you today is my hibernal socks from Summerly Knits, and I made these in Hey Sister Yarn Co. Hey Baby, I don't know what base it was, but one of their sock bases. And I think it's a 75% merino, 25% nylon base. I've been knitting these forever, and they were just in the background. Neither of these socks are blocked. I just gave them a quick iron before so that they would be somewhat presentable, but these will, you know, stretch out a little bit more when I have them on my foot. They also have the ends that are maybe sewn in, maybe not, but definitely not clipped. So finally, those are off the needles, which is really nice. Let's go ahead and talk about the 2 projects that I've got on the needles at the moment. As soon as I finished my Cardi Jumper by VertKnit, I jumped right into a project that I have been wanting to cast on for a while. This is the Marius Ladies Sweater, and it is a seamless yarn pattern. I am knitting this in 2 yarns held together. So the original calls to be knit in Pear Gynt. I am using a lovely yarn called Semilla Pura, and it's a 100% organic wool from BC Garn. This is the tag, and I'm using color 1 and another color, which is blue. It kind of looks like this when it's balled up, and I'm holding it together with Issair silk mohair in the colors E0 and 44. And this is my other contrast color. I've just got a lot of balls everywhere. So here is the sweater. Let's just go for that. Here's the sweater. If you watch 2 Pearls in a Pod, Sarah recently finished this sweater, although I think she must have used a different pattern because she said that she knit hers bottom up and that she steeked hers. She had done a little bit of a modification for the way that the steek around the sleeve was done, but the version that I am knitting from, this Marius Ladies Sweater, it comes with 2 different options of instructions. You can either knit it top down or bottom up, and neither of the options have steeks. Steeking, in case you don't know, is when you knit color work in the round. Oh, it doesn't have to be color work, but knitting in the round, and then you cut your knitting to make it a flat piece of fabric or to open up an armhole. So I opted for the top-down version, and that meant that the majority of this color work, actually all of this color work, is knit back and forth. So that means purling in color work, which is not my favorite thing to do, but I was willing to do that to not have the steeks because I didn't want to have the extra bulk at the armhole that would come from having the steek. Instead, now I just have like one little selvage stitch. I've just picked up the first sleeve hole, the stitches around the first sleeve here, and I finished the neck last night, where I also picked up around that selvage edge and then did a folded collar. I'm quite happy with how this sweater is turning out. I haven't wet blocked it yet, but I have gone ahead and hit it with some steam on my iron, and I love this yarn combination. It's so soft. I have used the Isir Silk Mohair many times in the past. It's my favorite mohair. I think it's the softest. I've paired it with Pergint, the Teen Pergint, the thinner fingering weight version, and I wear those sweaters knit in that combination all the time. They are a bit scratchy. It doesn't bother me, especially when I have a long sleeve shirt underneath, and in the winter that scratchiness isn't sensitive to my skin when it's cold enough outside. But this one, I can tell, is just like soft on a different level. The Simila Pura and the blue is actually called Simila Melange, but it's a very similar, if not exactly the same base. I think it's the same, it's just that it's not dyed. That combined with the mohair just makes like the dreamiest fabric ever. So a couple of things about this sweater just to note. You might not notice this unless you are knitting it yourself, or if you, I don't know, are crazy like me, but one thing to note is that this version in the pattern, you can see that this like line of the pattern here that is like 2 rows of the blue with like an every other white blue dot in the middle, that line comes below the collar. This line here comes below the collar. So all of this kind of XO pattern is completed, and then this line is also below the collar in the pattern picture. But as you can see in my version, it is not the case. I'm knitting the smallest size, which is it's called small, extra small, small. I decided to knit that size because it's a 107 centimeter bust circumference, and that's 42 inches. I measured a few of the other sweaters that I like to wear that are in this similar sort of dropped shoulder style, and they were right around 42 centimeters. So I decided to go with that. There isn't a suggestion here for how much ease is recommended, and I think it's interesting that in the pattern itself, it doesn't tell you a recommended ease. It doesn't tell you what the ease is of the model on the front, and it doesn't tell you in the pattern, it doesn't say what size she's wearing. I found this pattern today on Ravelry, and there it was in fact noted that she's wearing a size medium and that she's 174 centimeters tall. Personally, I don't really care how tall the model is. It's more interesting to me to know what her bust circumference is, or what the circumference of the widest part of her upper body is, because that's going to give me information on the amount of ease that the sweater has. So I think it's a little bit unfortunate because I'm guessing, so it said she's wearing a size medium. I'm guessing she's wearing a size medium, and I'm guessing that she has a much smaller body circumference than I have, because this has a lot of positive ease in the picture. I think it's a little bit misleading that this picture, that blue line is like that whole XO portion is finished and that the blue line is above there. When I look at the chart, even for the size medium, I don't see that that is, like, it doesn't match that picture. So I think I would have preferred to have the X and O's finished completely, and then, yeah, that line there. If that would have meant that some of the color work would have been finished in the round after splitting for the sleeves, I think that would have been totally fine for me, because as it is, I actually have decided to sew up part of the sleeve hole here. I've done it on this side that I picked up for the sleeves, but not on this side, so you can see this side it's still open, because the sleeve opening is very large, and I also compared that sleeve opening to some other sweaters that I have and decided to go ahead and stitch it up. When I picked up the stitches for the sleeve, I still have almost exactly the number of stitches that I should have had, so I don't know. I did get the gauge even with this change of yarn. I think that there's just a little bit of room for needing to have a little bit of knowledge of how patterns work and how you can modify them to fit yourself when you work with Sandnes garn patterns. They're not going to hold your hand every step of the way, and I think in some cases that's totally fine. It's just a little frustrating for me when the picture shows like this nice finished motif here on the front, and that isn't reflected in the chart for this pattern. I could have adjusted that, but by the time that I realized that was happening, I kind of was beyond that point, like with the, I think what I would have needed to do is I would have needed to make this blue section at the top a little bit longer, and I think that would have been fine, because that would have just lowered everything down a bit, and then I would have had a few more rows of patterning to be able to finish off this XO section here. But no, it's not like that, and I think it's still gonna be really nice. I like this subtle kind of marling effect in the white part of the body. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's very subtle. It's not as pronounced as a tweed, but it's just enough that I think it gives it a little bit of interesting texture. So that's my current sweater project that's on the needles, and I did decide to go ahead and cast on another sock, even though when I had these socks on the needles I was like, oh, when are these going to be off the needles? I kind of am just done knitting these. I think I was mostly just a little bit bored of this yarn and this pattern because I've knit it several times in the past, and so I did decide to cast on another pair of socks in a new yarn and a pattern that I haven't used before. This is the Poet Sock by Sarid Nordlund, and I'm knitting this in Stress Knit's favorite sock in the color Sunflower. It is a very brown leaning gold. I think she called it yellow, but I mean I would say it's definitely it's like the inside part of a sunflower, or those sunflowers that are like reddish orange, more towards that. I have knit the cuff and the leg, and I've just done a few rows of the heel flap, the first sock. So that's where I am. I am knitting these on the Haya fixed circular needles in a 2mm or a US size 0, which is my typical sock needle. Unfortunately, I wish I could still knit socks on a larger needle, but in order to get a tight gauge that I like to have for socks, I do need to go down to a 0 or a 2mm needle. So those are kind of the projects that I have finished and have on the needles at the moment. I've done a lot of sewing. I did a lot of sewing right before we left for Colorado, and I'm not going to share that here. I've shared some of it over on my Minerva profile if you would like to check that out over there. I sometimes get fabrics from Minerva in exchange for a blog post by them, and I write a lot more of the sewing details over on the Minerva website, so definitely check those out if you're interested. I will share one of the sewing projects. I'll share a couple pictures here. I did end up sewing the Eleonora dress from Silver Saga Patterns. I did modify the sleeves slightly. I both reduced the volume of the sleeve and shortened them, but I think I didn't shorten them quite enough. They're still quite big for my taste, and I think I was hoping for more of a cap sleeve look. So maybe next summer I will modify this existing finished garment to have more of a cap sleeve, and I think I will be shortening the sleeve significantly if I make this pattern again. I didn't make this dress using Minerva's exclusive print-on-demand cotton lawn, which is a really gorgeous base cloth and very similar to Liberty Tana lawn if you have used that fabric in ever. Really nice. So if you want to see more sewing projects that I've been up to, you can head over to Minerva, and then kind of from this point on I'll be sharing some sewing projects again. At the moment I have a ton of projects that are cut out over here, sewn projects that are waiting for my overlocker to return from being serviced. It's been a month since I've had my overlocker and I've really missed it. So I'm hoping that I'm going to get it back early this week and be able to whip up these projects that are waiting, that are really a big part of Eloise's back to school wardrobe, because she has currently 0 long sleeve shirts that fit her. Really hoping that happens soon. Now I thought I would just jump in and share with you the items that I picked up while I was in Colorado this summer. As I mentioned, we were there on a 6-week vacation with my parents who live there, and we also saw my sister and some friends on the way. So let's just start out with yarn, and then I'll shift into fabrics and then kind of miscellaneous items. So first up, I have a yarn from my friend that she's a college friend who came to visit. 2 of my college friends came to visit for my birthday weekend, which was so fun because I haven't seen them in quite a while, and we obviously don't have very many opportunities to see each other. So we had a really fun time hanging out and eating lots of yummy food and drinks and knitting, because they are my 2 very solid knitting friends. We all kind of, well, that's not true. We didn't all learn to knit together, but we definitely like became knitters with a capital K together in college. So one of my friends, Kira, she gave me this deluxe ultra soft 1-ply fingering weight, which is 70% ultra fine superwash merino and 30% mulberry silk. It's a single ply, 420 yards in 100 grams, and this is from Always Be Kind yarn. And I don't know if it's an Oregon yarn company, but she bought it at her local yarn shop in Oregon. And it's really funny that she picked out this color for me because it's very similar to the Knitting for Olive sweater that I made for Eloise in the unicorn purple color. This one is a little slightly more blue, but still very much of this lilac-y purple color, and it goes really well with the unicorn purple. So after she gave this to me, I went ahead and picked up 2 more balls of the mohair that was being discontinued at my local yarn store so that I could pair it with this. And I also have a little bit left over from the sweater I made Eloise, so that gives me a good amount to make something. Initially I thought I might make Linnea a sweater that matches Eloise's in this yarn, but the more that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of loving this color right now. It's really an unexpected color for me, and so I'm thinking about making something for myself with this, but I don't know what it would be. So if you have any ideas, this is a single ply. I have 1 skein, and I have enough mohair, I think, to match all the yardage of this. Another gift yarn that I got is one from my sister. This is Malabrigo Machita, and this is the color 115 Old Rose, and this is also a fingering, 420 yards, 100% superwash merino in this really pretty, yeah, kind of, I want to say like a clay terracotta sort of color. It's called Old Rose, as I said, which, yeah, also Old Rose matches it, but I think this is also a really nice color. I'm not sure what I'm going to use this for. I think it could make a really nice like neck accessory. But yeah, I haven't knit with very much single ply in a while. I used to knit a lot of lace shawls like 10 years ago, which I would use sometimes single ply for, but I haven't knit with a lot of single ply lately, so I need to kind of explore what some ideas for projects that I could use those for. The last yarn that I picked up while we were in Colorado is Kelborn Woolen's Scout. This is a 100% wool yarn. It's a sport weight, 274 yards or 250 meters in 100 grams, and it is the color Chestnut Heather. It's a really rich dark brown, and I'm planning to pair this with Isayer Silk Mohair in the color number 34, which is also a lovely rich chocolate brown. I haven't yet decided what pattern I'm going to use this yarn for, but I have a few ideas. I think the Lakes pullover would be really nice. I also have the Loops sweater from Other Loops, which is a colored sweater, like there's a stripe color in that, but I would either do it just as a solid piece or just use that texture in that pattern. This is the Other Loops pattern, and it has a texture in this stripe, like there's pearl rose and knit rose in there, that it looks really cool in the way that she's done it with a stripe, but I think you could also achieve an interesting look with just a solid color, which would be what I would do. So I have 5 balls of each of those, and that will be probably my next project on the needles after I finish my Marius Sweater. So now just for a couple of bits and bobs that I picked up while we were on our trip. First I will share also this lovely necklace that I have was my grandmother's, and we had a celebration of life for her while we were in Colorado in June, and I would love to know more the story behind this little charm. It was on a very chunky gold charm bracelet. This charm, along with 2 other charms that maybe I'll share a different day if you're interested, a sewing machine charm that actually is like a functioning needle that goes up and down on this sewing machine when you turn the side of it, and then also a gold thimble. I had the charms removed from the bracelet and then soldered together so that it could be on a gold necklace. My grandmother did some sewing, but her mother was more of the seamstress. My great-grandmother, Maria, actually was her name, which is, yeah, my namesake, or I'm her namesake. What is that? So yeah, I have that necklace as a little special memory of her that I really like. Some of this is sewing related and some of it's other craft adjacent, but let's just jump right in. So in addition to that beautiful Malabrigo yarn that my sister picked up, she also bought a couple of fat quarters at her local sewing shop. So these will go into my stash to be used for little linings or small bag projects. I think these are all just really pretty and definitely me. So those are lovely. And while we were in Boulder, I went to Sobo, which is the local sewing shop there. So at Sobo, I bought these 2 fat quarters. This one just has like tiny little hearts on it in really soft colors. And this one has like a little quilting motif. I'm planning to use these in a little quilted bag project that I hope to be working on really soon, that was inspired by the Little Notions pouch that my other college friend Elena had with her on her trip to Colorado. Also at Sobo, I picked up a multi-pack of labels from Kylie and the Machine. This particular pack of labels is very similar to the bespoke labels that I have, which I only have one left, which is why I got this other little pack. These little bespoke labels are really fun to put into like jeans, like at the pocket, kind of like a Levi's tag inspired, or you can put it like on a breast pocket or something like that on a shirt. So I really like those little tags, and this multi-pack is a similar style of tag, and it says different things on them. So I got those from Sobo also, and I picked up this fabric from, I think it's called Fabulism. I haven't washed this yet. This is a really lightweight cotton fabric. It has a nice pastel stripe in kind of, again, these purples and cream, little light pink, peachy pink browns, and I'm hoping to be able to make a pair of pajama pants for myself in this fabric. If I don't have enough for pants, then I probably will go ahead and make shorts, if I don't decide on, I don't know, making a shirt or something else in that. From Elfrida's Fabrics, I went ahead and picked up a bit of denim fabric. This is a stretch denim with, I think, probably like 98% cotton and 2% stretch. That's usually the composition that I go for. I find it pretty hard to shop for denim online, so when I find a nice denim in person, it's really nice to be able to pick it up. I'll make a pair of jeans for myself in that, which I really need to get going with because I currently have like no long-legged jeans that fit me. I am wearing my Lander pants at the moment. These are pants that are a pattern from True Bias, but this version that I'm wearing right now is just like the sort of 3/4 length pant, so it's not very winter appropriate here. I'm thinking that I might make these again though in the long leg version. This was like the first pair of sort of wider leg pants that I tried making, and I've really enjoyed wearing them, so I think I'm not moving away from skinny jeans because I do still enjoy wearing slim jeans, but I also might be open to exploring some other jean silhouettes in my wardrobe. Let's see if I can get this focused. Another thing that I picked up that was kind of weird, I don't know. I went ahead and got this natural cotton canvas fabric from Michaels. Now, if you know anything about fabric stores in the US, you know that Joann's closed at the beginning of the summer, and then Michaels shortly after that decided to start carrying or expanding their fabrics selection. So I went into Michaels to see how that was, and I can tell you it was not a pleasant shopping experience. I did go ahead and buy this cotton canvas because it's a 100% cotton, it's nice quality, it was a very low price, I think it was like $6 a yard or something. but the whole experience of buying fabric at Michael's needs some work. Like, it was not streamlined at all. Very frustrating experience. So I wouldn't be doing that again anytime soon. They also didn't have very many fabrics that appealed to me. There was a lot of printed cotton fabrics for quilting or kind of more like craft projects, but not very many solid colored fabrics at all. But I was happy to find this canvas, and I'm glad that I bought it. I would like to make the Grainline Studio town bag. I have the field bag from Grainline Studio that I sewed this version, but it's like a pattern based on the field bag from Fringe Supply Co. And I use this project bag all the time. I would like to make the town bag version, which is a little bit larger, that would fit sweater projects better. So that's why one of the things I had in mind when I got that. Another fun thing was going to a like secondhand craft store in Boulder. I hadn't been there before, but I think it's called Art Stop. I'll put the name of it here, not Art Stop. But it's basically it's used craft supplies, but there's like so many things, and it's really nice if you want to try a new craft, or you don't want to like invest a whole lot of money in buying like all the supplies for something. You might be able to find them at a shop like this. I found this McCall's M6225 pattern that has some, it has a robe, a camisole dress, pajama pants for little girls. So I just cut out a camisole for Eloise. We'll give that a try. There's fewer sizes in this pattern than I initially realized, but this was 25 cents, so I'm okay with that. I also picked up these two little photo albums that I plan on printing out a bunch of pictures from our trip this summer, and then making like a nice little cover page with like some, you know, cardstock, maybe with some of these stickers. I just like was going through some boxes of my old craft supplies that were at my parents' house. So making like a little fun travel memory scrapbook for my girls. They did a little bit of camping. We obviously flew on a couple of airplanes to get there. So I think that would be a fun way for them to be able to look back on pictures from our trip without always having to like take my phone or something like that. And then just the last couple things here, I did have this book of transfers. They're iron-on transfers. I've never used them before, but I've had this for a long time. And when I was looking in it, I thought, this could be cute. Like, this is what they look like. This is just like the overview page, and that's what they're like in there. So I thought like some of the smaller ones, I could use a little transfer like at the back of a shirt, on the inside of a shirt, if I don't have a size tag or something, to show the girls like this is the back, so that they can put their clothes on easily by themselves. But even some like these floral ones appeal to me for maybe like transferring onto the front of a shirt, or a dress or something like that. So I did go ahead and bring this home that I had in my craft supplies from at my parents' house. Also in the craft supplies were these gold jingle bells. I need to add a few gold jingle bells to Linnea's Christmas stocking that I sewed her last year, and then I thought that these would also be fun for other little Christmas ornaments that I might make in the future. Another thing for Christmas ornaments that I might make in the future is this little set of 5 laser cut hangers that I bought at the Estes Park show. And these little hangers are going to be so cute for making mini sweaters and hanging them on the Christmas tree. So I do plan on doing that as we get closer to December. So that really comes to the end of the things that I wanted to share this week. Next time I'm planning to go through my fall plans knitting wise and sewing wise, and hopefully I will have kind of gone through and decided on what those projects will look like, because I haven't done that yet, and I would like to go back to my plans from the beginning of the year and see where I am in terms of what I still want to make and what I've kind of decided to not make anymore. I'm hoping to be able to do a lot of sewing very soon. I also have a little stack of fabrics here that I need to get cut out. But until next time, thanks for watching. I hope you will join me over on Patreon and Instagram, where you can find me as Stitched in Sweden.